Hello and welcome to WTF, where we help you transform food in your kitchen. I'm Janie.
I'm Roman.
And today we're going to make a spectacular dairy-free potato gratin. And this is very exciting for me. I'm lactose intolerant, can't have it. But we wanted to make a gratin that's truly delicious on its own. It's not just like, oh, we bought some vegan cheese, melted it, and then dumped it in there, because that probably isn't very good. So we want to start from scratch, thinking about what makes a gratin delicious and how do you do it without any cream, any milk, any of the other dairy stuff. So Roman, you've made a lot of gratins. Let's first talk about the properties of a great gratin and what you look for when you think, oh yeah, this one's really good.
All right, so the sauce is basically simple. Well, I say simple because I think I've done like maybe 10, 12 iterations of it to get it to where it is now. So we start off with basic things like water. We use nutritional yeast, which is great. That gives it that cheesy flavor that we're looking for in a gratin. We do add a little bit of coconut oil. That also helps with the creaminess, the fat. You need a nice amount of fat content when you're making a gratin. And then we add the little things like salt, obviously for flavor, lactic acid, a little soy milk powder, and whatnot. And all this comes together that gives you this really nice sauce that holds it all together. Because that's also very important, because the gratin can tend to break when you heat and reheat. And this sauce doesn't do that. And that's one of the great things about making the sauce.
Okay, let's get right into it.
So let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So over here I have our ingredients, and we are going to start by getting our blender ready. And first thing we want to do is to get our water in there. All right, and then once the water is in there, then we start to add our dry ingredients. It doesn't really matter in which order you do it.
Okay.
You just want to get it all in there. All right, so we'll start it on a really low, and then we'll start with our nutritional flakes. That would be our ultimate cheese. Some of our soy milk powder. Actually, I'm going to wait till last. This is the tapioca. This is what holds it all together. This is the tapioca starch. So we'll add our salt, our lactic acid, white pepper, umami. This will help boost the cheese flavor.
Yes. The umami powder is kind of like I would say a non-MSG version of MSG. You can also do MSG, but we like the umami powder. It really, I think when we were doing the testing, added a lot of depth of flavor.
It definitely did.
And without it, it felt okay. And with it, amazing. So don't skip that one.
Yeah, the few iterations that I did do without the umami powder, you can really tell it just didn't have it. You know what I mean? It didn't have that deep flavor you're looking for in the gratin. So annatto, this will give us our nice orange cheesy color.
Okay.
And then last but not least, our tapioca starch. Now this is what's going to hold it together, so when we cook it, it'll thicken up like a cheese sauce. And then we'll finish it off by emulsifying our coconut oil into it. Very last thing you want to do.
Yeah. And for the coconut oil, make sure, so we have our Druids Grove organic coconut oil. It is deodorized, meaning it does not smell like coconut, and that's very important here as well, because otherwise you're going to get essentially a very coconutty gratin, which we don't want.
All right, so now that we've got that in there and it's emulsified, we'll go ahead and just let it run for about 30, 40 seconds, and then we'll stop it. There you go. And then we're going to get that right into our pot. We're going to cook this medium-high heat on our control freak. I'll get it to about 350.
Okay.
And you want to stir it continuously as you do it. You don't want it to clump up and whatnot. And so we'll just we'll get it to the temp that we need it to, and then we'll stir it as it starts to heat up.
Right.
You'll see it's very loose right now, but as it starts to heat up and it starts to thicken up, you'll know where it is. It actually, I say about 10 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes to get it where it needs to be.
All right, is that 10 to 12 minutes of constant stirring, or do we just let it sit?
Yeah, you can let it sit. I would say to keep an eye on it, because you really don't want it to clump up. And you want to make sure you're moving it when that tapioca starts to set. So I would say, occasionally take a look at it. It starts to bubble. You give it a stir. You can hang back, watch it, stir. I kind of like that. Yep. I'm a chef. I like standing over pots and stirring. So
I'm more lazy. I'm more like, how little can I possibly stir this?
Sounds like my wife, but I hope she's not watching.
You're like, what'd you say about me on camera?
All right, so it's starting to heat up. While that's going, what we're going to do is we are going to get our potatoes ready. As you can see right here, I do have some potatoes already peeled in our water. We keep it in there just because we don't want it to oxidize. We're going to be working very quickly with this, and so we like to have everything ready to go.
Yep.
I do have a potato here that does need to be peeled, so I will do that.
Okay.
I remember working in a restaurant, and I peeled dozens of these things. I mean, maybe
like thousands more likely. Right?
Easy.
I'm like dozens.
I mean,
dozens a day.
Between doing this and making Lockies, I
Yeah.
just like have the worst carpal tunnel. Once you have it all nice and peeled, you want to get those little eyes out of there, and then you get that in your water. Make sure that it doesn't oxidize so that you're ready to go. As you can see, our sauce is now bubbling furiously.
Yep.
And that's why I like to stand over it.
Yeah.
You know, just to keep on top of it. So we'll let this. I'll actually turn this down a little bit because it doesn't need to be so furious of a boil. And we'll let that simmer.
Okay.
Because I think we got it close to where we want it. As you can see, the bubbles are starting to get large, and it's starting to really thicken up. And you're kind of close to where you want to be as
Okay.
far as thickness-wise and viscosity.
Yep.
But I'm thinking I'm just going to let it go for maybe like another 3 or 4 minutes, and then we can start assembling our gratin.
Okay.
All right. We have our mandolin. We have our casserole dish, and I'm going to turn this down a little bit more.
All right.
And then you want to make sure to have a couple of pieces of parchment paper. This is for inside of our casserole where we will be assembling the gratin. And this is for the top. Now we're going to put this on top when we throw it into the oven because we don't want the top of it to burn.
Okay.
Okay, but we are going to take it off about 85% through the cook, and then that way that'll give you a nice crusty golden top.
Cool.
All right, so I think we are where we need to be right there. So I'm just going to turn that off. You want to take a look at that?
Yeah.
See how that's thick?
Yeah. So
And
it's
how it's
definitely
coating the sides of the pan?
That's what I'm gonna say. I'm
That's
like,
what
it's
you want.
definitely not like what you think about when you think about a cheesy sauce. But
Yeah.
I like what you just said. Look for that coating in the pan, so it's got some of that cling to it.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right, so now that we got that, we are going to get our potatoes ready to layer. Okay, so I always start by putting a nice spoonful at the bottom of the casserole dish and kind of trying to spread that in there. And then we'll start mandolining our potatoes. All right, now be very careful with the mandolin. I tend to not use a guard, and I probably should. I definitely have sliced quite a bit of skin over time.
I know, I'm anxious looking at it right now. Like, he's not even wearing one of those gloves or nothing.
No. But you do want to definitely be careful because these things are very sharp.
Yes.
And the last thing you want to do is hurt yourself.
Yeah, I'm also noticing, and I don't know if the camera can capture this, but you're slicing the potatoes like super duper thin.
Yeah, they're
So
really
way thinner than what I normally
Yeah, they're
think about.
super, super thin.
Yeah.
I would say this is probably like a 16th of an inch. All right, and then you're just gonna kind of shingle those in here.
Yeah. Do you feel like, there's a benefit to doing it that thin?
I do. I think it cooks quicker, and it sets better. And when you cut it, it also adheres better. I think if they're like too thick, they don't adhere as much and they don't hold together as well. I do also, after the bake, I'll set another casserole dish on top of it to kind of give it a little bit of pressure to help that set.
Okay.
That, I mean, if you are going to make them a little bit thicker, I say to do that for sure, because then that'll help compress it.
Okay.
And it won't fall apart on you. All right, and so as you can see, I did a layer, and now I'm going to do some sauce, and then another layer over that, and I'm just going to continue this process till I'm actually done with all three of the potatoes.
Okay, then we'll be back when we have a finished casserole.
All right, see you then. Okay, so now that we have it all assembled and ready to go into the oven, what we want to do is I just put a little bit of sauce on top before I add the parchment paper. And that parchment paper, like I said earlier, will help it from browning too early and burning. So what we're gonna do is just gonna give it a nice cover, put it in the oven, wait about 40 minutes at 375 degrees, and then we're gonna take this off, and then we're gonna give it an additional 8 to 10 minutes of cook time to get it a nice brown crust.
Okay.
All right,
sounds good.
okay, let's do it. Now that the potato's out the oven, we're going to take off the parchment paper and we're going to put it right back in the oven for an additional 8 minutes to brown.
All right, we're back, and as you can see, there is a gorgeous gratin on the table right now, and I kind of want to kind of look at it. Of course, we want to taste it.
Oh, yeah.
But before we cut into it, I want to talk a little bit about, for a lot of people, they're busy and they want to really be able to plan ahead. And can you talk a little bit about, making this ahead of time and how that all works?
Yeah, I mean, you can have it either way. You could take this gratin right out of the oven and you can scoop it right on your plate right away, and it's just as delicious. Or you can do as I like to do, because I have a small family and something this size would probably be too much for us to eat in a day or two. And so what I would do is I would take it out and I would put it in the fridge, and then take it out the next day, and then I would cut it into smaller pieces, and then I would vacuum seal those pieces if you have a vacuum sealer, or you could just use any kind of bag to do that. And then I can reheat it in the oven, or I can even sear it in a pan, which is what we're going to do today. Yeah,
because if we cut into this now, it'll still be delicious, but it's going to get gooey. So we're going to sear it off for you.
So this is the one that's been resting overnight. I already unmolded it. It's ready to go. So I'm just going to cut a piece into it, and then we're going to sear it. Like I said, you don't have to sear it. You could put it in the oven, and you could get a nice, nice color, and it'll cook really nicely also. But I do like searing it better. You have a little bit more control, and you can get a really, really nice golden sear on it. So we're going to do that.
Cool. And as you're cutting it, I just want to point out that this sauce is not broken at all, which is a typical problem for gratins. If you're not careful and you freeze it or cool it off, by the time you reheat it, the whole thing just kind of falls apart.
Exactly.
And it becomes an oily mess.
And as you can see, look at that, it's still together. It looks exactly the same as when we heated it up back in the pan, so no breakage at all. And it didn't get too stiff. A lot of times when you're making gratin, that sauce can start to bind and get really, for me, a nice smooth textured gratin is beautiful, but when it starts to get too tight, I don't like it as much. It gets a little bit gritty, and the cheese starts to separate. All right, so we're gonna get a nice slice out of that. That looks really good. I love how the sauce is still really gooey and whatnot.
I know.
And look at that. You see all the nice layers in there. And we have our pan ready, medium-high heat on our Control Freak. And I'm just gonna set that right in there.
Yeah. And one of the things I really love about Roman's recipes is that, we're making these recipes that you can do in your kitchen. All of them are perfectly doable in any kitchen. But I love that he always brings a little restaurant presentation to everything, because this definitely looks a lot more professional than when we just scoop it out of the pan.
I'll say. And what's going to make it even better is when we add that 72-hour sous vide short rib to it. Just saying.
I'm excited about it.
All right, so as you can see, we got it searing nice up. We're going to let that sear. I would let it sear for about 5-6 minutes.
Okay.
You can go longer if you want. But we're looking to get that really nice golden brown color on there. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to, a lot of times you're antsy and you just want to just flip it real quick. Don't do that. You can start to see the brown start to come up on the edges, and that's how you'll know when it's ready to flip. But like I said, I like to let it go at least a good 5, 6, sometimes 8 minutes, which seems ridiculous, just to get that really good sear on it.
Yeah.
All right, so we're just gonna let that go. We're gonna let that go. We'll I made a little bit of demi-glace to go with that, with the short rib. So this is this is gonna be a really nice meal. And Janie, like Janie said, you can do this at home. Doing this ahead of time for me is the best thing, because you can choose when you're gonna eat it. You can save it. It for me in the freezer lasts up to about 3 months of time. If you don't freeze it, you're good for a week, 7 days, and whatnot. But yeah, this is, I mean, this size gratin for my small family of 3, it's about 3 meals.
Right. So it's a little bit of effort for a big return.
Exactly. And as you can see, it's starting to get that brown. I think it's only been about 3 or 4 minutes, but we're gonna let it go. We're gonna let it go another 4 minutes, and we're gonna get that nice, beautiful golden crust.
Okay.
Now that we've gotten a good, I'd say about 7 to 8 minutes on that, we're gonna give it a flip so you can see how it looks.
Sounds good. Ooh, that looks beautiful.
And that's what I'm talking about. I might even, personally, I might even go another 3 minutes on that.
Okay,
You know?
you would?
I would. It looks beautiful right now, and this is probably how I would serve it at a restaurant. But I mean, I like a real brown, hard crust on mine.
Yeah, and I kind of like how even though you're searing it pretty hard. Like there's no like runoff. The sauce isn't falling apart.
Exactly.
Everything is just staying exactly in place.
Exactly where it is. And that's the beauty of this sauce. I love it because I like the how velvety it is, how even before and after it comes out of the oven, after sitting in the fridge for overnight, it's still exactly the same. It really hasn't changed consistency at all.
Nope.
All right, that's looking good. You know what? We're just gonna let that sear on the other side. Same time. We're gonna go like another 6-7 minutes. So you just hang with us, and when that's ready, we're gonna put it together for you.
Perfect. All right, as you can see, we have this gorgeous restaurant quality plate right here that I'm super excited to dig into because, as good as everything looks, what's most important is how does it taste?
Exactly.
So if you like today's content or any of our videos, remember to subscribe and like so that we can, I don't know, be successful at YouTube. I don't really know how it all works, but, we do it because we enjoy it.
And we do it because we want to show you how to transform ingredients in your kitchen.
Yeah, there you go. All right, ready?
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so
we got our.
What do you want to do?
All right, let's have our potato first because this is we already know that. Well, we don't. They don't know, but this 72-hour short ribs delicious. By the way.
I bet it is.
Not the first time I've made that.
Here we go. Look at me cutting it off.
Oh man.
I hate destroying like beautiful looking plates. Sorry.
It's fine. It's okay. It's still gonna be delicious. It's still gonna be delicious.
It was like not. I was trying to be delicate, but you can't really.
All right, let's try some of that. Oh man. See how velvety that is? Cooked. The sauce.
Yeah.
It just kind of coats the potato. There's no grittiness at all. It's very tender. That is beautiful. I had fun with this recipe. It's one of the recipes that we've done that I had. I mean, even though I had to do it like I don't know how many times, the end product turned out to be excellent.
Yeah. So one of the cool things about this is, if you're someone like me, I miss having a cheesy gratin.
Right.
So this is not trying to pretend to be cheese.
No.
This is just kind of like, it's very deeply savory. It has like so much flavor. It has this like that velvety texture. So you don't think like, oh yeah, whatever it is, just trying to be a vegan version of a dairy product. But it's more just like totally delicious all on its own. Doesn't matter whether you're vegan or not. It doesn't matter at all. You're going to really enjoy these potatoes. They are super tasty.
Exactly.
I love these.
That is one of the things I do like about this recipe is that it's not trying to be a cheese gratin. It is its own thing. And for me, developing it, it's just, I'm over the moon at how good it came out.
Yeah, I'm going to have a little bit of this short rib as well.
Yeah.
And I think you can Google this recipe. It's not up on our blog, but 72-hour sous vide short ribs. It's on some website, I'm sure.
Chef Thomas Keller, I think that's where it is. Oh man,
it's real good.
That is delicious. I'm gonna have some of that short rib too.
Okay, we're gonna segue into lunch. But you can get our potato gratin recipe down in the links in the description below. Our Lactic recipe, and of course everything else. Let us know what you think. Until next week, from here in the Modernist Pantry Test Kitchen, I'm Janie.
I'm Roman. Okay.
All right, let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Because sometimes, I'll start to be like, no, I was blinking.
I think I'm ready.
We're just eating. I'm like, no.
I'm gonna eat all of this.
We've got an outro.